she said we're going to reinterpret maritime law, which will allow us, the British, to intercept the dinghies, the boats, mid-channel, turn them round and tow them back to France. Well, my first question would be, it seems pretty straightforward to reinterpret maritime law. Why has it taken this long to come up with that idea?
Yeah, she's had well over a year, sort of a year and a half to do this, and clearly she's been sitting around twiddling her thumbs. If it was that easy, why didn't she do this beforehand? I think fundamentally this policy comes off so mean-spirited and, you know, just not efficient, it's not going to work, that it can only have been contrived by someone who wants to set up a straw man to attack, because it's such a bad policy. You know, look, at the moment what we do is we pick people up in lifeboats and we ferry them to the UK very safely, very easily. All we have to do is take them the other way. Take them back to France in the same lifeboats. You don't have to push the boats back, because all that sounds like is people are going to fall into the water, drown. Then it's going to be a case of, oh, now we need to have safe routes of entry. Now we need to do this, that and the other. The answer is very clear. Take them in a lifeboat, take them back to France, and just tell the French, look, you let them leave, we're bringing them back. It's as simple as that.
So, you were just telling me that you've actually been down there. I mean, you know, I don't want to criticise the Lifeboat Institute, the Royal RNLI. It's a marvellous institution, charitable, saves lives at sea and all that. But it does seem to me, every day in every way, there's a new picture in the paper of an RNLI lifeboat bringing in about 80 migrants onto the beach and you know, sort of saying thank you, I hope you enjoyed your journey, enjoy your new life in Britain. So you've just come up with a good idea. So when they pick them up in the mid-channel, why don't they go the other way?
It's just as easy, isn't it? It's about as simple as bringing them here to take them back there. But fundamentally what it is that we are too weak to turn around to the French and say you've got to take these people back. It really is a diplomatic issue. We need to deal with the French allowing them to leave. I don't blame the French allowing them to leave. If they were leaving from our shores going to France, I'd say, yeah, let them go, absolutely, go for it. But fundamentally, we need to make it in their interests to prevent them from leaving.
I mean, I'm going to make a prediction here. I don't think we'll ever see a British boat intercept a dinghy, turn it round and tow it back to France.
And if we do, it will be spun as, oh, this is why we need safe routes to entry, etc. It will be an entirely constructed narrative for the press to run with, so that they can say, look at this mean-spirited approach, how terrible of Britain to turn people away in this way. There's a very easy way of taking them back. Put them on the lifeboats like we're doing at the moment and take them to France rather than Britain. It's very simple.
Say to the RNLI captains, you're going the wrong way. France is that way. Good idea. So let me tell you what I think we ought to do, or where I think we're going wrong. I mean, how long have we got? A few hours. I think it's all very well to point the finger at the evil people smugglers. Evil. These are the people. They're responsible for all this. And of course they are evil. It's a terrible trade. And they're making fortunes, by the way. I've read that sometimes on a packed boat, they can make as much as £750,000 on a single boat. I mean, it's extraordinary amounts of money. Forget drugs. This is the new way to make massive illegal money. Yes, they're awful. We should try and catch any. Unfortunately, we don't catch any at all. But I think that we've got to start saying that the migrants too are breaking our laws. The Crown Prosecution Service only a few months back said that they do not consider that our immigration laws are being broken by these migrants. These are people turning up by illegal boats without documents usually and trying to break into the country. In what way does that not break our immigration laws?
I think if we applied the law to any other crime in the way that we do to illegal entry, there would be no law and order in a country whatsoever. People could go around murdering each other and go, oh, well, it's not technically murder because of this little way that I've interpreted it. If you have all of these activist lawyers going through and saying, oh, this isn't illegal because of this reason, or that's not illegal because of that reason, that's not the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is we've got an immigration system. We say who comes in and who goes out and how people move around because we need to. You have to have control. The moment people start coming over in boats and forcing their way in, that is very clearly a breach of the law. I don't care how you interpret the small pernickety little details of the law. It is a breach of the law and we need to be tough on it.
And then think of what it is that we do. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that the migrants are evil. I don't blame them at all. They're trying to get themselves a better life. But we have to take on board that 87% of them are young men. So these are not people trying to escape the persecution of war and torture, because basically they've just been in France, which doesn't have war and torture. these are economic migrants, but what do we do with them when they arrive? You know, we usher them to coaches, we take them to hotels and to residential establishments where they can stay, where we allegedly process their applications for political asylum. And these are not detention centres, and loads of them just walk out.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
No, it's incredible. I remember when I was in Dover, I went up to up to Folkestone and Napier Barracks, and we were bumping into these migrants in the street. And we were sort of talking to them and saying, you know, by the way, most of them only spoke German. They didn't really speak English. So clearly, they weren't coming directly from. They'd gone through Germany, spent time in Germany, moved on, didn't like it there. Gone to France, didn't like it there. Come to Britain.
They're very picky,
you know,
aren't they?
They're very picky. You know, for people who are fleeing war, they're very picky. But
didn't like the food in Germany.
But we spoke
too rich in France.
Yeah, too rich. We spoke to them, and it was basically their attitude was, oh yeah, we can leave the camps whenever we want, but we go back because it's quite nice there. It's quite comfortable. We're clothed, we're fed, we get everything we want. If it was so terrible in those camps, they could leave. They've got the freedom to.
Well, they do. Lots of them do. And the other elephant in the room is, you know, people say, oh, look at all these people who got detained when they arrived on the beach. Well, lots of them get to the beach and get through. And by the way, they're also arriving by plane. They're arriving by boat. This isn't just a cross-channel situation. We are being invaded every day in every way. Now, you know, I talk to quite a few top politicians on this show, and we usually agree that a good way to start this, to properly deal with this, is to start treating these migrants, sympathy for them though that I have, as criminals. And so we're not putting you in a hotel, we're detaining you, and you are now under arrest. You're in a legal process.
Or just don't let them come in at all. That, you know, we don't detain them here, send them back. It's very possible to do that. It's just that we don't want to. Look, if a warship came into British waters, it wouldn't stand a chance. We could deal with a breach of our coastline. We've got a very heavily fortified coastline. We've got the border force. We've got security. We can deal with it. We're well resourced. We're choosing not to do it.
Yes, I mean, there's the immigration legal racket. I mean, immigration lawyers are swarming all over the place, representing these people. Of course, we pay for it. They get legal aid, which is slightly annoying. And we also... we give them money to get by. And 1 in 6 of them, you were talking about lots of them being in Germany and France. 1 in 6 of the people waiting to... hoping to get political asylum here have been refused political asylum in another European country.
Or in this country, people who apply for asylum here, if they apply for asylum, it can take up to 7 years for that application to be processed. And even if it comes back as a no, they can apply again on a different reason. So you can say, oh, I'm applying because I'm fleeing war. And then it gets turned down, they stay here the entire time. They apply again, they stay here the entire time. So the system, even if people get rejected asylum, they don't get returned, they can stay. So fundamentally, if you come to Britain, you know you're going to stay, everyone's going to jump on a boat because they know they're not going to get returned. There's no risk of it.
And they all know this because it's a fact, and this is the talk among the migrants, that the softest touch in the world for migration is Britain.
Absolutely. They know they'll come over here, they get clothed, housed, fed. It's not like Calais camp where they're stuck in a tent sort of eking out a living, you know, with whatever charity they get. They're given a pretty luxurious lifestyle here. You look at the poorest and most downtrodden in British society, people in deprived areas outside of London, in certain regions. You look at the veterans on the homeless veterans on the street, people who fought for this country. In general, people who are homeless, who are destitute, they're getting nothing. But people who come in, break our laws by entering, who have no right to be here in the first place, who lived a perfectly fine life elsewhere, they get it all, and at our cost.
Now, Priti Patel has clearly failed, actually in any way whatsoever, to tackle this escalating problem. What should she have done?
Well, it's not just Priti. I mean, she's a scapegoat for this whole thing because she is the Home Secretary. But Boris Johnson says he's pro-immigration. He's not going to give her any support from above. The civil service are ideologically in favour of this continuing. So whatever she tells them to do, they'll frustrate her attempts to do anything about it. Fundamentally, we have a huge issue within government which needs to be resolved. One of the problems is that we've got a system where the government faces no opposition, it faces no threat whatsoever. For years, it had the threat of people like Nigel Farage, knowing that he was creeping upwards and upwards in the polls, and it forced them to deliver things like Brexit. However, there's absolutely no pressure from outside on the party at the moment. So there's no will to do anything politically. What are they going to lose if they do nothing about this? What are they going to lose?
Doesn't look good though. It is a problem for them, but I see what you mean. Last question, really, Benjamin. Why don't we adopt the Australian system, where they used to have thousands of migrants coming across from Indonesia and landing on their northern beaches, and they announce, because you've tried to get into our country illegally, automatically we will tell you right now you'll be getting no asylum whatsoever. You've broken our laws. We will process your deportation within 3 weeks, and they do. Why don't we do that?
We should do that. That's one of many things we should do immediately, but it's the tip of the iceberg. Fundamentally, we need to deal with this issue with the French, because the French currently have a great incentive to let these people come to Britain. We need to make sure that that incentive is not there. We also need to make sure that for the migrants coming here, they know they're not going to get to stay. The moment they know they're not going to get to stay, there's much lower incentive for them to jump in a boat, pay thousands of pounds to do it, and take a risk.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's the problem. We need to disincentivize them, because there's so many incentives for them to come here. And until we do that, until we make this place unwelcoming to these migrants, they're going to keep coming. And Priti is... she's in dangerous territory, I would say. Benjamin, thank you so much for coming in. Great to meet you, and fascinating points. Benjamin Loughnane there, Research Fellow at the Bow Group. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and this is Talk Radio.